Hey everyone, I'm doing a review of Afif Khaja, an ex-Muslim who went on to Hamza's den, and they discussed the deficiency of women in their intellect and their religion within Islam. Now, we're going to jump into the video in just a second, but I just wanted to say that this is probably going to be the last review I do of Afif, potentially forever. He's having a bit of trouble at the moment, and I'd ask you to go and show him some support. He's put a little community post on his channel about it. Whether you agree with the kind of style that he has going on to these shows, he's always very soft, very pleasant with people. It takes a tremendous amount of courage for an ex-Muslim to be public, using his real name, using his real face, and going on there and challenging Muslims. So please go and show him a bit of support, regardless of how you feel, and just show him that he's a valued member, the Counter Darwa community, and hopefully be back at some point. But this one's for you, Afif.
Well, inshallah, we'll go into.
I don't think this guy's going to last very long at all, and he always gets suited and booted for the stream. It's going to be the most. I'm telling you now, right? Listen, I've not even brought him on yet, right? His point is going to be so pathetic that Ijaz is either going to laugh, face palm, or switch off his camera.
So there's Hamza there doing his usual poisoning the world before Afif has even come on. He's already slagging him off in that really classy way that he always acts. So anyways, let's bring Afif on and see what he says.
Hi, Hamza. Hi, everybody on the panel. Thank you so much for taking me. My name is Afif. I'm an ex-Muslim atheist and a YouTuber. And I just have a question about one hadith.
YouTuber? How many subscribers you got, mate?
Like that has anything to do with it. He's so obsessed with subscriber numbers. You know, despite the fact that Hamza's like flagship show gets about 10% of his viewers or something like that. But yeah, guy's just obsessed with subscriber numbers and mocking smaller YouTubers. Yeah, it's just childish.
Not many.
How many?
500 something, almost 600.
Oh, okay.
So there's a hadith that I wanted to talk about with regards to women. This is from Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith number 304. It says, narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, once Allah's messenger went out to the musalla to offer the prayer of Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Fitr. Then he passed by the women and said, O women, give alms, as I have seen that the majority of the dwellers of hellfire were you, women. They asked, why is it so, O Messenger of Allah? He replied, you curse frequently and are ungrateful to your husbands. I have not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you. A cautious, sensible man could be led astray by some of you. The women asked, O Allah's Messenger, what is deficient in our intelligence and religion? He said, is not the evidence of two women equal to the witness of one man? They replied in the affirmative. He said, this is the deficiency in your intelligence. Isn't it true that a woman can neither pray nor fast during her menses? The women replied in the affirmative. He said, this is the deficiency in her religion. So my first question is it really true that women are deficient in intellect and that is why their witness is equal to half of that of a man in Islam?
Are you serious?
Yes, he's serious, Hamza, because it's a serious question, particularly when you like to put out the idea that Islam is oh so respectful of women, more respectful than anything in the degenerate West. So yes, this hadith completely contradicts that. So what do you got to say?
Before that, Afif, I want to answer, because obviously this stream is about challenging Islam, proving it to be false. How does this hadith prove Islam false?
I don't think it proves Islam false, but I think it shows...
Okay, no problem. In that case, we would say bring a source that would demonstrate Islam to be false, because let's be honest, Afif, you know that we've addressed this several times. You already know this.
I'm not aware, unfortunately. I was hoping
yeah, again, why should he be aware of what you may or may not have addressed? I mean, you all do hundreds of these stupid Darwa propaganda shows. Like Afif is supposed to have watched every single bit of content that you've come out with. And secondly, about the whole thing about disproving Islam, well, I mean, you can certainly disprove your conception of it, or at least the way you try to portray it, as some kind of wonderful system that respects women. At least your conception of it is proven false by this hadith. So it is worth bringing up.
We have a statement from Rasul where he says two things about women, that they are deficient in intellect, all right? So let me read the thing. Deficient in intellect
304, Bukhari, 304.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm looking at the report. Yeah, and deficient in religion.
Yes.
Both are true. Okay, for the reasons that Rasul Islam has stated. But like you said, it doesn't mention. And the thing is, it's like we can say this proudly because any sister in the chat, any woman who is a believer would not argue this from Rasul Islam. If Rasul Islam said so and given the reasons for it, they will say this is correct.
Well, again, I think you're wrong. I think there are a lot of Muslim women who would actually object to this. Now, whether they can justify it Islamically or not is one thing. But I think there are a lot of women who will instinctively be pretty offended by this, and I can understand that. Now, it is surprising how honest you are about this. But like saying, oh, well, there's going to be a number of women who, yes, they're brainwashed because they're told to believe from birth that basically if they don't believe this, they're going to go to hell. Then yes, of course, you're going to get some number of Muslim women who will just go along with it. What the fuck does that prove? Nothing. It just shows how well the indoctrination works.
This is part of our nature. He's simply explaining the nature of women.
Yes, but is it actually true, though? That's the point. I mean, what does this complete nobody who has no medical background, illiterate, caravan robber from the 7th century, is going to make these kind of judgments about particular things that we can demonstrate with science now, particularly when you can look at intellect and temperament and that kind of thing. And these things aren't actually true.
So, like you said, you don't believe that this hadith proves Islam to be false. So present something that you believe.
Well, again, on that way, you can. I mean, if you can show that Muhammad is wrong about the temperament of women, about the intellect of women, then it kind of does disprove Islam, because it's also kind of said in the Quran. I mean, it refers back to at least one verse in the Quran, which we will get into. So if you're showing that that's not true, then you are kind of disproving Islam.
Will prove Islam false, because at the end of the day, you've presented yourself as an ex-Muslim. Therefore, there is something in Islam that has shaken your belief to the core that you decided, I can't do this anymore. So,
well, again, I mean, they always have to dodge back to this. It's always trying to armchair psychologize ex-Muslims. I mean, Afif has demonstrated in a number of these videos that he's got a whole bunch of reasons for not believing in Islam. And they're very, very good reasons, as most ex-Muslims have. So this is just a stupid sideshow.
So what is that?
That's a good question, and thank you so much for your honesty. I wasn't expecting that, because usually when I ask Muslims about that, they try to twist it and turn it into something else.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite surprising that they were dishonest and upfront, just saying, yeah, we think women are deficient in intellect and deficient in religion. But they do somewhat walk it back, as I think this kind of shows that they're realizing they're looking a bit bad at this moment. So they do sort of try to qualify it as they go along. But yeah, they are more honest than a lot of Muslims would be in this case.
But secondly, if you wanted to ask, I think there are several reasons why I think Islam is not a true religion. But one of them, probably one of the biggest reasons, and one of the reasons.
Before you waffle on,
yes.
You think that women need 2 witnesses? Is that what you said? Yeah.
No, I'm saying the Hadith says that the witness.
No, you said.
See, I love this. They're saying, like, before you waffle on, the other Muslim guy asked him about other reasons why he didn't believe in Islam. And as soon as he starts to answer it, Hamza has to jump in, accusing him of waffling along. Yet if he didn't answer that question, they wouldn't let him continue. So talk about, this is just a catch-22 situation. If you don't answer the question, they won't let you continue. If you do answer the question, they'll tell you you're waffling.
You said women's testimony and stuff, yeah? Half of a man or something.
That's what the Hadith says.
Right, that's only in one case.
It's only with regards to the thing. Okay. Do you know who Aisha anha was?
I would just question that it's only in one case, but we'll get back to that.
She was the youngest wife of Prophet Muhammad.
She was, okay. Do you know how many hadith emanate from her?
I think she's next to Abu Hurairah.
Right. So where is this? Why are we taking them from this one woman if we need 2?
Because we're not following the hadith of the Prophet in this regard.
Or you've misunderstood it.
Or I've misunderstood it, yeah.
And what do you think it is?
Or there's just contradictions within Islam, as we're going to find out in a few cases as we go along with this.
I think that if based on the hadith, that the evidence of one woman should be equal to that of 2 women should be equal to that of one man. Therefore, the narrations of Aisha should be equal should need
In
one more
matters
word.
of what?
It doesn't say, the hadith doesn't say in matters of what.
Right. Look, if you look at the Quran, you'll be able to know. It's mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah.
No, don't. Let's not give him the answer. Here's what I would say.
I love that. Let's not give him the answer. You're having a discussion, or you're supposed to be. It's not about like, oh, let's hide the answer or expose the answer or whatever. I mean, how childish is this conduct? If you've got something you think is relevant, put it in there. Don't play games.
Afif, as an ex-Muslim who clearly...
Right, I've paused it there because Hamza, just at that moment, starts asking about this. He does this whole thing about reciting the Quran, and they put him through a couple of minutes of getting him to recite the Quran. Now, they've done this so many times when a thief goes on there because they're always doubting that he's actually an ex-Muslim. Now, he spends the next couple of minutes reciting various passages of the Quran correctly, but I cannot be bothered to go through it again because I just think it's game playing on their part. So I've skipped those couple of minutes of the video.
Okay, mashallah. I accept you to understand, you memorize the Quran, but maybe you...
Right, so again, they keep doing it. Every time a thief goes on a stream, they say, oh, we don't believe you're an ex-Muslim, and they try and get him to recite all these verses. Now, Hamza just acknowledged after that 2-minute trial they put him under that, yes, I accept that you memorize it. Now, should a thief come back and go back on Hamza's den stream, I can guarantee he's going to put him through the same routine again, because they, at this point, I just think they like fucking with him. And this is the one point where I would say, a thief, if you do come back, mate, don't let him get away with this. I think in this sense, you are a bit too nice, and you should just say, I've done this before, I'm not going through this, let's move on to the topic. But anyway, let's carry on.
Bullied as a kid at the mosque, I don't know. Something's traumatized you. Anyway, so...
Oh, again, like from Hamza's perspective, you know, when you listen to his conversion story to Islam, I mean, his whole life was a mess, and yet he's going to say that about a thief. I mean, it's just such a joke.
Do you think you've misunderstood the hadith, or we incorrectly just believe Aisha and we ignore that hadith?
Yeah, I think that based on the hadith, that the evidence of 2 women should be equal to the witness of 1 man in all cases, unless specified by the hadith, which just doesn't say that.
In all cases, where does it say that?
It just says that by the default.
No. In the Quran, what does it say? What's the matter pertaining to? We're not going to tell you, but what is it? What do you know?
Okay, so we're disregarding the hadith right now. So in the Quran, I think there's one verse that says that the witness of one man has equal authority to the witness of 2 women in financial transactions.
In the Quran, what does it say?
Yeah, in financial transactions, so that if one of them forgets the other.
In what?
In financial transactions.
Financial transactions. Continue.
So if one of them forgets, the other one can remind her. Right?
No.
Right. Yeah, but that's not what the hadith is saying, right? That's what that verse is saying.
That's what.
Yeah, exactly. See, now these idiots, they think this is some kind of like knockdown argument that because in the Quran, there's only one specification in a particular verse about where this is applied. That means that somehow rules out all other scenarios. Now, it doesn't, because as far as I know, and without going back and reading the entire Quran, there is no other mention of any kind of legal practice where it tells you how many witnesses. Now, that doesn't mean that women's testimony doesn't count as half a man in every other scenario. It just means that the Quran is silent on it. So therefore, I would argue you've got a pretty damn good case to say, well, you use the next line, don't you? You go to the hadiths. What do the hadiths say? A thief is absolutely right. It says just in general. So you could easily say that while the Quran only specifies one situation, the hadith is saying that this is in general. That doesn't contradict the Quran, because the Quran has not given any other, it doesn't give any criminal law, any other kind of contractual law, anything outside of finances. It doesn't say, oh, well, in these other situations, women count as the same as men. It's just silent on the issue. And considering how many conservative scholars will apply this women's testimony is worth half a man in things outside of financial transactions, shows that that's a perfectly reasonable interpretation. Yet they think they've got some knockdown case because there's only one specific Quran verse about this, as if that overrules the hadith. No, it doesn't. There's no contradiction there. And yet these idiots are like resting everything on that position.
Oh, so that's not what the hadith say, but that's what the Quran is saying.
Yeah, because the hadith would say...
Okay, yeah. So the Quran is saying what in financial matters?
Yeah.
And the hadith, does it say it's not financial matters, or is it something else?
It just says it doesn't say any qualifications. It just says
no, but the Quran is clear, because this hadith will be referring to this. So
the Quran is clear on one issue. It is silent on everything else, which means it's open to interpretation. The Quran does not say that in every other situation, women's testimony counts the same as men. You know it doesn't. This is a bullshit argument.
well, the Quran says financial matters, yes?
yes.
Now, what do you think happens to women where you might need two of them?
They're deficient in intellect.
See, I love that. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it says. Yeah, I mean, that is what the hadith says. You're going to try and like dance around it.
You might get pregnant.
What's getting pregnant got to do with financial transactions and making a judgment on it? I mean, Hamza, you really need some basic biology lessons, my friend.
No,
Might go
I
on the
think
periods.
based on the hadith, it's because they're deficient in intellect. Right?
So
Yeah, you put your head in your hand because he's making the obvious point. You can try and dance around with all these other things. Oh, maybe it's pregnancy, maybe it's period. It's not what the hadith is saying. It just says she's deficient in intellect.
deficiency in
I think
intellect.
you're deficient in intellect.
No, I think he's running rings around you, Hamza.
Sorry, go on,
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Deficiency in intellect doesn't mean stupid, right?
It doesn't mean clever, does it? I mean, if you want to start playing semantic word games, it's clearly talking about intelligence. So yes, it does. If you lack intellect, that is meaning you're stupid.
It just like it says in the Quran that one of them may err, right? When someone makes mistakes and stuff, or something,
So-
that is.
Oh, what? So men are infallible then? Why isn't there that little default system for men? Men can make mistakes too. So why don't you need two for men? They're clearly saying that women are stupid.
It's
Go on.
easy to make sense of this, right? Aql, reasoning. Well,
Yes.
when you have a fiqh muamalat, when you have the fiqh of transactions, there are many rules and considerations to have. And so quite simply for us as Muslims, women who don't specialize in matters of transactions, what is and what is not permissible, what the calculations are, this is the deficiency being referred to.
That's bullshit because now you're specifying. It doesn't say anything about whether this is women who don't specialize. This is just saying that women can't do it as well as men can. The point is, okay, if it's about specialization, this is only for, why does it say women in general? And therefore, why doesn't it also put this this limitation on men who don't have a specialization? Again, absolute garbage reasoning.
And it's very specific. If you go back to the hadith itself, it's under a specific heading, right? We don't simply take the hadith and try to mold them into what our preconceived notions are. The hadith comes with an added context, and the Quran gives us that basis. Would that be correct?
No, the Quran gives you a particular example. It doesn't rule out every other example. It's silent on those issues, so it's open to interpretation. And if you say that the hadith should be accepted as, you know, essentially a continuation of the Quran, as long as it doesn't contradict the Quran, then you're supposed to accept those Sahih hadiths. And so therefore it's perfectly reasonable to say, I interpret this to mean all situations because the hadith is not specifying a particular condition. It's just saying in general.
Yemeni, or have we misunderstood what it says there?
No, that's correct. And because, yeah, I mean, alhamdulillah, you zeroed in on the word that's used in the Arabic, which is aql, all right? Which, yeah, is reasoning, right? So it's not...
It's not intellect itself.
Reasoning is part of the intellect, is a crucial part. It is how you work out what is right and what is not, what is correct, what is real, etc. Again, this semantic game, oh no, it means reasoning. It doesn't mean you're dumb, it just means you can't reason. Bullshit, you're saying the exact same thing. You can't have one without the other.
It's not...
But
yeah,
it's
it's
the
not like-
application of intellect on content, ideas, and beliefs.
Yes.
Right. And so in that society,
No, basically, you want to call women stupid without, you know, just absolutely saying it outright because you realize how bad that makes you look in the modern world. So you're playing these little semantic games.
and even now, we don't find that the majority of people who study the fiqh of transactions are women. It's actually men. Why? Men.
So what if the majority don't? I mean, obviously, that's partly down to the history, isn't it? I mean, women have been kept out of those kind of roles in many cultures, in many societies, and in many time periods. So yes, the access will be limited, of course. But again, even that being the case, clearly women have demonstrated themselves perfectly capable of doing high-level financial transactions, which renders this Quranic verse completely wrong.
specialize in that area because they tend to be the business people.
Yes, but tend to be. That's the key thing. Even if we accept what you're saying, that men have a higher propensity, which I don't accept is inherent. I mean, yes, whether you've got more people in those fields or not, it's going to be down to a lot of factors. But let's say even if it was true that men were inherently better at doing those financial transactions, it's not an absolute rule, is it? There are obviously plenty of women who could still do it. So therefore, the verse is wrong.
Simply the case. So I would argue here that you, Afif, you have applied a preconceived recency bias because up until the 1950s, you don't have businesswomen as we have them today.
Yes, and part of the reason is because of stupid fucking religious texts like this, which say that women are deficient in their intellect. So therefore, the society is going to follow that and prevent women from having the opportunity to exercise that intellect. That's not a recency bias. That's recognizing that women's options have been limited. And since those opportunities have opened up, women have gone into those fields and done perfectly well. So again, it shows it's wrong. And I'll tell you another thing that's wrong about this. Khadija, Muhammad's first wife, she was a businesswoman and a highly successful one at that. So this completely undermines the entire basis of it. If anything, all it shows is that women were perfectly capable of doing this until Islam came along and stopped Muslim women from doing it. And it's taken the modern world pushing Islam back to give women often a lot of those opportunities and, from a Muslim background. And they've done fine in the business world. So your arguments are absolutely fucking stupid.
So why should the Hadith try to answer a problem which up until now had not recently surfaced?
I love that, a problem. Yeah, the problem is that, yes, women have shown themselves to be capable of doing these things, which proves that the Quran was wrong when it said that they're deficient in intellect, whether that's for financial transactions or anything else. So this is the point. That's the real problem you've got, is that it does show that the Quran's actually false.
Where does that authority and where does that basis come from, and why should it be applicable to the Hadith?
Well, it shouldn't be up to the Hadiths. It just shows that the Hadiths are as wrong as the Quran is.
Okay, fair enough. That's a good question. That's basically the question I had, and thank you for responding.
But you didn't answer my question.
Oh, sorry. What's your question? I didn't understand.
Yeah,
if you could repeat that one more time.
No problem. So my question was this. The idea of women specializing in business, do you agree that this is something recent?
Again, the dodgy way he argues this, it's not about specializing in anything. This is a general statement in the Quran. It doesn't say for business experts or people with a speciality in it. It just says women can't do it as well as men, therefore you need two of them.
And
Yes.
not something, right? So it's a recent social phenomenon.
Right.
It's still the case
Again, a recent social phenomenon, apart from Khadija, who predates Islam.
that the vast majority of applicants to business school, those who specialize in MBAs, are men, not women. The vast majority of accountants are men, not women. I feel like I'm wearing a Jordan Peterson hat right now.
Yes, you are talking about as coherently as he does on these issues. I would agree on that. But it's completely stupid. To be honest, if you can find one example that breaks this rule, it shows the Quran is wrong. So it doesn't matter whether there's a preponderance of men in these positions over women. The fact that some women are doing it and can do it extremely well shows you're wrong.
Right? So it's simply the case that the Prophet ﷺ, in a chapter about women's menstruation, what they are allowed to do and not allowed to do while they are on their menses, mentioned something about the application of fiqh and their worship in that specific setting. That makes sense to us. That's what we understand.
All right, he seems to have gone into the whole deficiency in religion now, which is, related to menstruation in the Islamic mindset.
So my question to you, Afif, is why should that impact how we view women today when the context of it is for a time and place that made sense when women weren't in the business field as we find them today? How have you not committed the recency bias?
Hang on a minute. So now he's moved on to the thing about menstruation. He's saying that doesn't apply in the modern world now. So you discard that hadith for the modern world? It sounds a bit contradictory.
Well, I don't think it would be accurate even in the past during the time of the Prophet to say that women are deficient in intellect because they're witnesses.
In what circumstance? in what circumstance.
Hadith doesn't specify that.
It does. What is
No, it doesn't. The Quran gives a specific example. It doesn't rule out anything else. And I know I've said that several times now, but it's worth repeating because he's using a really shitty argument here. And I would also say, on top of this, right, I think all these guys would side with the scholars, although they're not going to admit this, publicly. I think they would all side with the conservative scholars who say things like this should apply to criminal matters and other matters, because there are plenty of traditionalist scholars who say that. And I reckon, given that these are all Salafi, reactionary, traditionalist dummies, they are going to go along with that, but they're just not going to say it publicly. They'll say, well, officially, the Quran only says this about this. But, once you go to the jurisprudence, we're going to side with it anyway and contradict ourselves. And I bet money on that they all actually agree with that position. They're just doing this for the public show.
the bab? What is the head in the it does? What is the head in the hadith is under?
Is it under menstruation?
Yeah. So what happens during menstruation? Okay. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me put it.
Are you married,
Do you
Hafiz?
Oh, here cuts in Hamza to just give the idiot question. He really is like a village idiot. I mean, I don't try not to make personal remarks and stuff, but he really does make it difficult because his questions are just so bad. I mean, he really does look like he's learned Islam from the ABC, like the child's pop-up book of Islam or something. I mean, he's so dense, it's just painful.
I'd rather not talk about my personal life if I can avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. So, fuck off, Hamza.
Okay. Are you aware of women having periods?
Yes.
I mean, that's so condescending.
Are you aware of the effects of women month before, month during, and month after?
Yeah, Hamza, again, showing he's a biology genius there. He thinks that you... He thinks that you get the effect the month after you have a period and the month before. So now, okay, obviously he's misspoke here and he's meaning, yes, the week of a period and then the week before, the week after. But considering how condescending he just was to a thief, he deserves to be laughed at for that because he patronized him so much. Like, are you aware of periods? And then he can't even get the time period of the periods right.
Yeah. Do you mind if I just phrase my question on that, if you don't mind, just so you can answer it properly? So my second question was, women are not allowed to pray or fast in their menses by Allah, not by their own choice. So why does that mean that they're deficient in their religion?
It doesn't mean that they're deficient in religion in the way that you've understood it. It means that they will tend to do less, and then after the time in which they have prayed, after the time in which they have their menses, they have to make up the salah, make up the whatever things they were meant to do before their menses, they have to make up for it. So they
No, they don't.
Praying and
They
fasting.
make up their fasts,
Okay, yeah.
but not the salah.
I will grant the fasting, right? Because this is actually about some fasting. Thank you. The actual heading is for fasting for women in menstruation. It actually says that. I don't have it on the screen again, but Jazakallah khairan, brother. What's his name? Hamza. Right. So it's actually, that's the heading. Chapter: a menstruating woman should leave observing fasting.
Yeah, but that's what Sahih Muslim, Imam Muslim came and added. The heading doesn't exist in the hadith itself. The hadith is describing a situation in which Prophet Muhammad was explaining in very general terms that the deficiency in intellect.
What does deficient means?
It's not.
They have.
Oh, let's play the dictionary definition going. What does deficient mean? I mean, it's just when they've run out of any kind of possibility of putting a persuasive argument up, they run to this bullshit.
They have lack of intellect and religion.
Less, yeah?
Yeah, less, exactly.
Hold on. He says Imam Muslim, so it's in Bukhari, by the way. But you
Bukhari.
You said he added this. Did you read the hadith?
The hadith by the one that I just read today, the Abu Sa'id.
Yeah, the one that you quoted.
Yeah, I just read it in front of you.
Yeah. What does the last two lines say? Does it mention women in menses?
It says, isn't it true that a woman can neither pray nor fast during her menses? The woman replied in the affirmative. He said this is the deficiency in her religion.
So it's speaking about menses, right?
Yeah, for the religion, yeah.
Right, so he didn't add the context about menses. This is the reason he's narrating it for women in menses. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you say that though, but I mean, to go back to the intellect side of things, I've heard so many Muslim apologists, they will say things like, well, the reason that women are unreliable and untrustworthy in giving their testimony is because of things like the fact they're on a period, and that's going to unbalance their hormones. They won't be thinking straight, and all this kind of stereotypical nonsense. Of course, they'll never apply that to men. I mean, it's not like men can lose their shit. You know, they can get angry, and that's going to unbalance them. You know, the testosterone running around in their system might not make them be thinking too straight. That never applies. But apparently, women are just like completely slaves to their biological cycle. And actually, I'm pretty sure that Hamza does pretty much make that argument later in this video.
That is talking about women in menses, but I'm saying, why does that mean that she's deficient in her religion?
Again, I just answered that question, that they have to make up what they would have not done while they were on their menses. And most women...
I think it's just arguing more like, why does it make her deficient to have a period? I mean, I think it comes down to this whole obsessive purity thing, but considering that Allah is the one that supposedly created this biological cycle, why does a natural bleeding cycle make you impure somehow? I mean, I think that's where Afif might be coming from. Why would that make you less, you know, a perfectly normal biological cycle that a woman goes through, that somehow makes her deficient in her religion? It's just, there's just no logic to it. I don't know that any other religion that does that. You know, I don't know Jews or Christians say, oh, you can't pray because you bleed. I mean, maybe there is something in the Old Testament about it. I don't know. But certain modern Christians and Jews would never have any truck with it. So you can't come to church because, you know, you can't take communion or whatever because you're having a period. I mean, I think most modern religious people would just laugh at this.
The Prophet, this is what Hadith actually mentions, right? They don't make it up and they were ungrateful.
Okay.
So how,
that makes sense.
Do you understand in Islam, the men and the women have roles and responsibilities? I am deficient in my roles and responsibilities when I don't fulfill them. Is that correct?
Look at the sister said.
I hate everyone when it's that time. I can't help it. Everyone gets on my nerves, especially men. May Allah forgive me.
Yeah, I mean, they think that this is somehow clever. He thinks like just, you know, some, you know, brainwashed woman who's listening in the chat is going to say, oh, yeah, I'm so ditzy. You know, I can't do anything when I'm on a period. Well, it might apply to her. That doesn't mean it applies to every other woman in the world. So Hamza thinks this is some sort of knockdown comment or something. It just makes him look even dumber.
That's
now, you shouldn't have...
I guess, yeah.
You shouldn't have read that because now, technically...
Yeah, because it makes you all look like twats.
It looks like...
Yeah. Anyway,
I think I answered that question.
Yeah.
You know, and it still leaves, like you've already admitted this narration has got nothing to do with Islam being false.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has, but I would say if he's wrong on that, I would say the fact that we can demonstrate now that women are perfectly able to do these things shows that the Quranic verse is wrong.
That's true. It doesn't. It just gives people a window into the mentality and the thought process.
Look.
Yeah, I mean, it does do that, and that is just as important, just to show the kind of inbuilt kind of anti-woman mentality that comes along with a lot of these Islamic scriptures, and the fact that these Dawa types fully embrace it. They think it's wonderful. So it is important for people to know that about the religion. And again, not all Muslim men have this attitude, but these Dawa clowns, these Salafis certainly do.
We know that when a person leaves Islam, they try to sow seeds of doubt in the minds of people. But what you've done is provide a hadith where you thought you could plant that seed and simultaneously say this seed is not going to do anything.
No, that's not at all. He might have said that he doesn't think it disproves Islam, which I think you can make a case it does. But that doesn't mean it's not doing anything. It's showing other Muslims, do you really want to be involved with this kind of thing?
No, I think it'll make people think. If that.
Right. Hold on a second. Right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you came on here and you were like, "There's a problem. I'm here to challenge Islam. There's a problem with the hadith. I think this hadith is going to make people think, but I'm telling them that it's got nothing to do with Islam being false."
Yeah, I think I was wrong on that. I think
No, I think it does. It really does. But again, this secondary effect is also worth having, because whether you can find many other reasons to find Islam being false, but this also shows that it's got some terrible morality.
The truth is that it would raise some doubts about the veracity of Islam, because if Prophet Muhammad's really speaking to Allah and Allah is the Lord of the world, then he wouldn't, tell Prophet Muhammad to say things like this, very general and demeaning towards women in general.
Was it demeaning?
Not general or...
Well, hold on. First of all, it wasn't general. it was very specific.
No, the the Quran verse is more specific, but the Hadith is very general.
Right? It was specific to a specific time in a woman's life.
Specific group of women.
Yeah, he was about to say a different thing, so you really screwed up there. You can see he was about to say, oh, that was for that time period, and then he realised, oh no, we still believe in that. So now it's quickly changing.
Specific circumstance, menses. Just
Yes.
so you're aware, women are not always on their menses.
And at the end of the day, this the woman was present. You know, she was asking the Prophet, peace be upon him. She wasn't offended, right? She didn't feel demeaned, right?
So fucking what? What's that got to do with anything? Just because that one woman wasn't, it wouldn't mean that women in general might not find it pretty offensive for you to say we're all inferior in our intellect, in our religion, you know, anything that's kind of these things are probably going to be quite important to a lot of women.
She
Why are
actually
you
agreed with them.
Yeah, no, but why is Afif offended on behalf of her? I'm just curious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because just as a human being, I would not. First of all, I wouldn't agree that women are deficient in religion or intellect, and secondly, I don't think it's right for the Prophet to say that, to single out women and have those kind of views about them.
Does Allah know more about women?
By the way, just you can see Hamza getting restless, getting ready to use the kick button, as he's always got to do with Afif. He's such a child.
Than you?
Prophet Muhammad.
No, Allah.
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 I don't believe that. I believe that Prophet Muhammad is Allah, right? That Prophet Muhammad is Allah is Prophet Muhammad.
I love this line because whenever Afif says that, you can just see how much it pisses them off, and I love that. It's just great.
In disguise.
Afif, wave to everybody.
Thank you so much.
Wave, got a wave. Go
Oh.
like that. Such a nice guy.
Yeah, he is, and he actually did make you look all pretty foolish and expose the, you know, pretty misogynistic mentality that not just Muhammad has, but that you're all emulating. But let's just see their stupid little closing section.
No, this is
I don't understand the objection here that Allah cannot say. Sorry, that it's wrong to say that women on their menses experience things which are negative.
Well, that's not the objection, though, is it? No one's denying that a woman has negative experiences in general when they're going through periods. There's all sorts of things associated. What we're saying is, why does that make them deficient in intellect or deficient in their religion? That's the part which they're objecting to.
They have negative effects when they're on their menses.
Yeah.
Week before.
Oh, you finally got it right, Hamza. Well done.
During and a week after.
Yes.
There's like a 1 week of grace we have. Because then it's coming, it's on, and it's remnants. And then
I mean, you really got to feel sorry for this guy's wife. Again, sorry, I know I shouldn't be making personal comments, but he's just such an odious little creature. I just, got to be pointed out. I mean, who would want to be married to him?
we got like 1 week of woo, and then
No one can say anyone is deficient about anything. That just don't make sense to me. Where do
No, that's not what the objection is. The objection is you're making a generalization that women are unable to do financial transactions because they're stupid, and it's just not the case. And you're also saying that they're somehow inferior in their religion because they're having a period which Allah gave all women. So that's the objection. If you can't understand that, I just think that's willful ignorance.
these magical rules come from?
I mean, it's power.
Yeah,
I mean,
by the way, Hamza, thank you. Yes, women don't need to make up the salah. Sorry, guys, I'm not a woman. I don't practice the fiqh of menstruation. It's not something we're experts in, okay?
Yeah, I mean, this is the end of it. None of you are experts at anything. You all come across as incredibly ignorant and incredibly primitive. And I think Afif did a good job at exposing that. So well done, mate. I do hope you are back for more reviews in the future, but I understand if you're not. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this last one, and everybody else as well. I think once again he's demonstrated that these Dawa guys are just really unpleasant creatures, and I also do think it's a good nail in the coffin again to show that the Quran is wrong about this proclamation about women. Anyways, next video should be on the absolute debacle of Hamza Sources and Mohammed Ajab going to South Africa, where they talk to actual academics and make a complete arse of themselves. So that'll be the next one to come. I will see you then.